All right, welcome everybody. Today I have the opportunity to speak with Joe Cebula, who is right up here in the window, if you see. And Joe is a physical fitness professional, but I'm not going to talk too much. I'll let him explain it himself. And Joe,
Hey,
welcome. Thank you for joining us. We've worked on a couple of projects
mm,
together, and I feel blessed that you've decided to jump on and work with me on this project, Coronavirus Diaries. So we talked a little bit before I hit the record button, just to kind of get an idea and understanding of kind of where you're at. And I suppose I should say that it is March 20th, 2020, and things have changed rapidly globally. And, in fact, just a few weeks ago, not even, we were in the same room together and the discussion of COVID-19 came up. But, you know, we had, had a positive intent or belief of where things were going to end up. And we still have that. But I'd be interested to know, first give the viewers a little bit of a understanding of who are you
mm,
and where you come from. And then, we're just going to see how this is impacting you and your world of physical fitness and everything.
yeah,
So by all means, go
yeah.
ahead.
It's interesting times for sure, for sure. So I am a personal trainer by trade. I owned a CrossFit gym for most of the last decade. About a year ago, I sold that gym. Was just kind of independent for a while, and then I recently just started working at a major franchise, like a big global gym. So kind of joined the corporate world and have been working my way towards establishing a commission-based pay there. Um, it takes a few months, usually about 6 months to a year, to really ramp your business up to the point where you're making decent income at it. But I was giving it a shot because there's benefits. There's the opportunity to just train people face to face. Most of what I've been doing has been online, and I think that plays a lot into sort of what's happening now, because so much of what we do as personal trainers has been uh, normally it's face to face. Normally it's you and another person or a group of
Right.
people in a room. But gyms are not widely known for their cleanliness. And given social distancing, it's very hard to get face to face with people, especially when people are sweating and spitting and like launching phlegm everywhere you go. It
Right.
can be pretty nasty. So the,
I love that
the
picture that you painted there. That's just, I'm
it's
sure
just
there's a
being
meme
real.
somewhere.
There's a lot of DNA sharing going on in this, for better or for worse. So the club that I work for shut down. I mean, that was I felt like they should have made that decision a lot sooner. They should have been a leader in that, but they were kind of waiting and drawing it out. And I think there was a lot of fear from the leadership about knowing how this was going to play out. That eventually it just got to the point where they're like, okay, we're shut down.
Sure.
Now I'm blessed because I joined this major corporation. They're not starving for cash. They've got plans. They've had savings. They were looking out months ago on this. So I still am getting paid. It's not my normal rate, but I shouldn't complain if I'm sitting at home, not really doing anything and still receiving pay. I know a lot of people aren't in that position. So I do consider myself blessed, and I thank the company for the foresight on that. However, communication has been poor. Uh,
So you've shared, you had this face to face, kind of the typical, what most people would see as the typical physical fitness professional
yeah,
kind of hustle. But I've known you for a while now, and I've known that you've been really focused since long before this COVID-19 stuff about online presence.
yeah,
This podcast, the Maximus podcast,
yeah,
and then you've been really adamant about developing online, and that's really one of the things that we're interested in documenting with this Coronavirus Diaries is how industries are going to be impacted by the elimination of so much face to face,
yeah.
physical face to face. And it's I think it could be a good thing, transitioning or getting a lot of people to start thinking about how to transition to really a global audience uh, digitally. So do you mind sharing a bit about kind of what you're doing or what you have
Yeah.
been doing online and what's working and where you see it going here in the near future?
Yeah, so I think to be successful as a trainer, there's a couple of different paths that you can take. One is to join the big gym and to be a trainer in that environment, and they're basically handing you clients, and you're marketing yourself to sort of this captive audience within this global gym, right?
Sure.
That's one way. you can make a decent living at that, but you're never outside of that. Now, from
Right.
where I was coming from, I owned a gym. And so most of that was trying to make that business grow. But there are limits. There's limits to what a small garage gym can really do. And the longer I grinded at that, the longer I tried to make that float, make that work, the more I realized I was going to need other sources of revenue. And a lot of that started to come sort of organically online. So I started building an online presence. So I started coming down with like, what Facebook image do I need? What Instagram image do I need? What do I need to do on TikTok? Like, what are the different platforms? Who are they speaking to? And then, of course, identifying myself as a brand. Now,
Branding. Yeah.
that becomes very important down the line, because that's actually how I ended up in the gym that I'm working at now. Was somebody had recognized that I had this online brand and they wanted that to be part of their gym community. And so they reached out to me and said, hey, would you be interested in joining with us?
Nice.
So it took a while to build that up and to really narrow my message down. So
When
in
you
a
say a
sense,
while, sorry to cut you off. When you say a while, what does a while mean? Is that a couple months? Is that 6 months? A
I would
year?
say a couple years. I mean, I've
Okay.
really been strongly focused on my online presence for at least the past 3 years, maybe a little bit longer.
Nice.
Um, it doesn't grow quickly. I mean, the algorithms, your exposure, who you're connected to, that all plays into it. And so it's kind of like the longer and more intently you play the game, the larger the gains that you get at.
Right.
So even before I took this current job, I mean, I was making a living just doing online stuff. And that hasn't really gone away. It's like you can't unplug from that world. And so although my focus has been elsewhere, that still exists. I'm still in the habit of posting on my Instagram every day. I'm still in the
Right.
habit of documenting what I'm up to on my stories and promoting that kind of stuff. So I'm still very involved, particularly as a coach in groups with other coaches. So people asking each other about how to run their business, how to make things happen. Again,
Right.
my focus has been on the people in front of me in the environment that I'm in 100%. And then whatever I've got left in a day has been just maintaining what I already built. Now, all of a sudden, the in-person training doesn't exist anymore. It's just gone. We're closing
Right.
at 8 o'clock tonight, and that's it. No contact with these people, nothing. So that whole market, that whole thing that I've been building for the past 3 months is non-existent for all
Right.
intents and purposes, right? So what else am I going to do? I have to do something. I can't sit around not training people. This is like my calling in life. This isn't something.
Sure.
I think I mentioned this to you in the past. If I was independently wealthy, I would still be training people. I would still
Yeah.
be hanging out at a gym all day. This is just who I am. This is what I do. This is what I bring to the world.
I mean, you're
And
talking
I'm
about
not.
a routine.
Yeah, and
About the
I'm not
routine.
interested in getting paid not to do the thing that I want to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like asking The Rock to stop being jacked. Like, we'll give you
Yeah.
millions of dollars to just stop being jacked. And he's going to be like, there's no way he couldn't
Right.
do it. You know what I mean? Like, stop being in movies, stop being a superstar. Like, the dude wouldn't survive. And I'm the same way when it comes to training my people. You, yes, there's this terrible pandemic going on. And yes, we need to take drastic action to stop it. But there already are tools that I could be using to stay engaged with these people and maybe even help them more.
So out of curiosity, let's dig into that. For somebody that's interested, whether it's physical fitness, and for the listeners or the viewers right now, we're going to circle back. I'm going to ask Joe a little bit about routine, something that you can do under the circumstances, whether you actually have to be indoors for extended periods or if you get a little bit of free time outside. And then I'm going to ask on his insights as to like the benefits of this stuff. I mean, it would be great for that. But before we get there, you said you have a couple of these tools, and
Yeah.
for anybody that, whether they're a physical fitness professional or they're in some other industry that are, I mean, right now, everybody's going to be looking at online. It's just, I think it's where everybody's going to gravitate to. It's, in my opinion, it's
It's
obvious.
almost
It's
just,
right
it's
there.
like the natural answer, right? Like, we
Right.
shouldn't just shut up shop and just be
No.
done. Like,
So
we have this
what,
whole method of communication that we're not tapping into. And I would say we as a company aren't, but me as an individual, I'm never going to let go of it because I'm too plugged in.
So how for what's working for you, give a couple of your tips. You did discuss the different platforms and
Mhm.
understanding, and I believe that as well. It's very very important to understand the platform and the audience and how to interact with that. You know,
Yeah.
Instagram is dramatically different than YouTube or
Yeah.
Facebook
Or
and
TikTok.
said TikTok. Yeah, right. Are you posting these? Are you posting TikTok?
I haven't been. It's one of my goals in this downtime, since I do have time, is to get more active on all the other platforms. But
Okay.
I've learned, like, certain content is very Instagram content that doesn't necessarily fly on the
Yeah.
TikTok. TikTok is more about getting people's attention and just kind of being a
Fun.
yeah. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of a narcissistic whore with your own image. And so you have to embrace that and kind of have fun with it. And people seem to enjoy it. I will tell you, there are some super creative people on TikTok. I have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
you
so
know,
the tips you have for others that are like right
well,
now
I mean, here's
looking
the
at
thing:
starting.
you're stuck at home. You have a couple of options. Like, one is you can just pop your feet up and watch reruns of Breaking Bad or whatever show you're into.
Sure.
Just stuff your face with whatever bad food you've got on hand, because I'll tell you this: all the real food rots, right? Like fresh meat, vegetables, fruit. It doesn't last forever. So what's going to end up happening if you're not going out to the store is all you're going to have left is, boxed macaroni and like dry
Yeah.
spaghetti, and like it's all carbs. So think about if you were trying not to be in shape, if you were trying specifically, like I said, if we told The Rock we're going to pay him not to work out, like, what would he need to do? He would need to stuff his face with carbs and sit still all day and do literally nothing. So that's option one, right?
Right.
Option two, let me paint you a picture. This goes on for months. Everybody's living in little bunkers, right? And finally, we get the all clear. There's going to be two kinds of people that crawl out of the bunkers. There's going to be people who are like on Wall-E, the people
Yeah.
that are like in space, floating around in their little chairs,
Yeah.
right? That's option one. Option two is more of the, like, I am legend. Like, I survived this thing. I am jacked. I've been doing pull-ups, push-ups every day for this
Yeah.
whole thing. And I'm going to come out like ready to kick ass because I don't know what I'm coming out to. Right. So my plan is to not slip in my fitness. I don't have access to a gym. Okay. I'd still have access to exercise. I still have access to healthy behaviors. Right. I still have access to planning ahead and trying to make sure that I can maintain the best diet that I can maintain.
Can we dig into that?
Yeah. So
diet. How do you? Because admittedly, my cupboards have the rice, the beans, the oatmeal, and that's what my freezer is only so big. I live in a studio apartment in the city. I have a small freezer. I've got a small fridge, and I did my part to kind of put what I could in there. I don't believe I'm hoarding by any means. I've got enough to where I'm going to be okay for the foreseeable future. But like you said, most of it is these carbs and these dried goods, as opposed to like I'm having an issue now with I had gotten a bunch of green avocados. They're not green anymore, and I'm going, I can't stand the idea of wasting these, so I'm gonna have to smash these avocados as they're getting overripe. But I'm realizing very rapidly.
Guacamole here.
Right. Yeah. I'm about that life.
Yeah. It's about, well, I mean, let's be real. There's optimal nutrition, and then there's surviving. And like at a certain point, you're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
What I will tell you a little bit about what I've been doing with nutrition leading into this whole thing has been carnivore. I have been a strict carnivore now for 31 days. I haven't had a vegetable. I haven't eaten a raw carbohydrate. That's not likely to be sustainable in bunker life.
Yeah.
Not unless I plan ahead. So my plan is like, I'm just to do the best I can. Every day you're presented with a choice, and your goal is to make the better choice, right? So you can make a box of macaroni and cheese, and you can look and see how many calories are in that. Do you need to eat the whole box all at once? Or would you be better to ration that out? And then again, are you sitting around doing nothing? Well, guess what? Your caloric intake is going to be a lot lower.
Right.
If you're actually busting your ass and getting some workouts in, like, you're probably okay to eat a little bit more. Even less optimal food will still help get you results as you're going along. So you can look at this as I'm trying to maintain a certain level of fitness, or you can look at this as an opportunity to really focus on some basic things. So when it comes to exercise, those are the tips that I would give you. Imagine most people can't do 10 straight push-ups. I mean, that's pretty factual. Most people can't. Yeah. Okay. I mean, most people are broken. Now you've got a military background. So my guess is you're like, drop and give me 20. You drop and give me 20. You find a way. Yeah. Most people can't do that. 99% of the people I work with at a gym are struggling with 1 or 2 push-ups. So,
Do you have a place where people can find routines for beginners like that you're on
oh,
your,
absolutely. I mean, you can check out my Instagram.
where's that?
You
How
know,
do they find that?
it's at Joe_Cebula. So Joe_Cebula.
I'll put it in the links below for everybody that's listening.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll make sure that all your info is there. But that that's a great point. Is that, there's going to be different levels. There's different levels
Yeah.
to
So,
this.
so just think from a very basic thing, a push-up. If you just worked on getting your first push-up and you put 10 or 20 minutes of work into that every day while you're working from home, what's going to happen at the end of 2 weeks? What's going to happen at the end of a month? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? What's going to happen when you finally are allowed back outside and you have freaking mastered the push-up and you can do 40 unbroken reps now because what else are you going to do? This is what you have to work on. Like, have you wasted your time because you weren't under a barbell doing bench press? You know what I
Speaking
mean?
of barbells and bench presses,
Yeah.
do you have routines where it's like most people will not have a barbell or
Yeah.
anything in their house, and for someone like myself, I'm in a small studio, so that's something I've been kind of freaking out about a little bit. Is if they start saying we can't even go outside. I mean, I am in a big city, and there's a very good chance that eventually in 2 weeks from now, they might say absolutely not outside. You're not allowed outside. Like who
You want to know
knows?
where some of the most jacked and most fit people in this country are? They're in
Exactly.
prison. All right. So let's take a
Valid.
prison mentality, right? Let's look
Wow.
at the kinds of workouts that guys do when they don't have access to things. My buddy Bobby, he's famous for this one. It's called prison burpees. So you've
Okay.
got a little 4x6 cell. So you go to one corner of the cell, you do 20 burpees. You walk over to the next corner, you do 19. You walk over to the next corner, you do 18. You keep walking around, counting down until you've done 210 burpees. Finish that workout in about 20 minutes and tell me how that feels. That's pretty solid.
Yeah,
That'll get you in
that's
shape.
brilliant though. It's brilliant and it's real.
Yeah.
The dudes come out from inside and they are shredded and jacked.
And look at
Um,
the food choices. I mean, they're
Nutrition.
basically fed. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
here's your ramen. That's what you get to live off of while you're in here, but they're still able to make it work.
Yeah,
So
they're
the
not.
good news here is your
Yeah.
body will adapt. You know what I mean? Your body doesn't know if it's lifting a barbell, a pair of dumbbells, or doing a push-up. All it knows is internal forces. So
Right.
as long as you're working hard, you're going to get somewhere. And let's face it, most people go to the gym and they want to pick up a barbell and they don't know how to bench press correctly. They don't know how to back squat because they've never actually mastered the push-up. They've never mastered an air squat. They've never just worked on human movement. Most of the people that I work with as one-on-one clients, we start off just addressing movement dysfunction. Because if you can't even bend over and tie your shoes correctly, I'm not going to try to throw 400 pounds on a barbell and make you squat under it. Things aren't going to line up.
It's all form, right?
It is form. And so here we are in a position where it's like nobody has an excuse not to be a master of the push-up, not to be a master of the squat. I've got a pull-up dip station that I bought for $100 at Dick's like years ago. I'm getting a lot of use out of that right now. If all I did was pull-ups, push-ups, and dips for the next 3 weeks straight, what do you think it's going to do to my physique? What do you think that's going to do to my strength? Do you think my bench press is going to diminish if that's what I do? Like, probably not, especially if I'm really pushing some intensity and getting a lot of volume.
Sure.
Do 200 push-ups a day, Micah, and tell me how you feel at the end of 2 weeks.
I'm gonna take that challenge.
Yeah.
I've been slacking myself for a little while now, and this is the opportunity. It is one of the things that I actually really appreciated when I was on deployments, is that you had the mission, and then you had your personal health, which was in support of the mission. And I would always tell myself, if at all I can possibly help it, it's not going to be because of me that I don't make it home. So I would always think about, like, who's the biggest dude on my team? I need to be able to pull that dude out of a vehicle if something bad something bad happens. Right. So,
and that's a really practical example. And I think for people who have like an office job where they're fortunate enough to be able to work from home,
sure.
it's harder to make that real.
Yeah.
But like I said, where's your excuse? What else are you going to do? You've got time. And yes, you can still rewatch Game of Thrones if you really want to. And instead of just sitting on the couch watching, how about every minute you get up and do a set of squats?
Yeah.
Do a set of push-ups, do some sit-ups.
That was the nice part about being deployed, is that you didn't really have the option to go to the movies, I didn't, not on the bases. Some of the
Yeah.
bases had some pretty cool
I don't know. Some of those Air
stuff,
Force bases I've heard about are pretty ridiculous.
you and me both. But that, I mean, but it lent itself, the environment lent itself to the mindset of like, well, this is a thing that I can do now because I'm limited. And now
Yeah.
that everybody's limited, I'm hoping that we end up seeing an entire generation or population that comes out in a couple of months, and they're kind of seeing their own potential. So
I think that that touches on such an important point about this, because people are going to realize, like, I hate going to my job. I like being at home more. I like working from home more. And I think the culture is going to change, where now companies have to admit, like, no, you can work remotely. We don't need to have this office space.
right,
Like, we can be a team and do this all virtually. And I think people are gonna realize, I mean, God willing, they're gonna realize they like spending more time with their kids and less time at the
right,
office. And so if we can start finding a way to mix work into our daily life, and exercise, and managing our nutrition, and
sure,
in this opportunity we have, where so much distraction has just been forced out of our lives,
yeah.
where now we really are forced to sit and look inside and say, well, okay, what's going to happen on the back end of this? How am I going to be different because of this experience? And is that going to be a good thing, or is it going to be a negative thing?
I love your mindset, and I hope that the listeners and the viewers are able to find that themselves. I keep talking to family and friends, and I'm saying, the next couple weeks and months, God forbid a year, but it's going to be rough. But it's in times like this where it's really important to look for the opportunities, and that's what I'm seeing. What you're doing, and so many others are, and it's exciting. I think a lot of people are going to come out of this a lot stronger for it, and as a society and a global community as well. So,
No, and I think a lot of people are going to come out of this shaking their head, because they've got 3 years worth of toilet paper stacked up, and everybody, you know.
did you hear about what's going on? So apparently, I mean, obviously there was a lot of people that didn't get toilet paper because there was people that bought 3 years worth.
Yeah.
They're having plumbing issues now because people have been using shredded t-shirts and like
Yep.
stuff, and it's the
You
world
can't
we
flush
live
it,
in,
folks.
bro.
Throw it out.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, like,
Unbelievable.
baby wipes don't flush, guys. They just don't.
Well,
Welcome to the industry.
well, Joe, I hope we can make this a regular thing. At least weekly. I'd love to get to the point where maybe you come up with short little routines or something, or you talk
Yeah,
about maybe some more nutrition stuff. Again, listeners, viewers, check in the links below. We'll make sure that I've got all Joe's information. Got a great podcast that he's running. That is it covers all the stuff. There's a lot of good content out there. But before I let you go, Joe, was there anything else that was on your mind that you were hoping to share before we call it?
I just hope people, again, will take a moment and really think about their lives in this moment, and think about what's changed, what they can learn from this, and how they can be better moving forward. That's really what I hope, because again, we've got time. So if you're sitting at home bored, you know what? Maybe that's the problem. I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase. Uh, there's no boring thing. There's only boring people.
Yeah,
Something to that effect.
yeah,
So, I mean, take this opportunity to start writing down, like, what isn't working in your life, what is working, and what can you be doing right now. We went from doing a weekly podcast to a daily podcast, because what what excuse have I got not to do that right now? If you were to call me up and say, hey, do you want to do this thing with me? And I'm like, not really. I'm busy watching, the paint dry. Like, that's, of course I'm going to do this. What else am I going to do with all this time? I'm getting paid right now not to work. I'm getting
yeah.
paid not to do my job. Yeah, I'm going to take every opportunity I can to try to help people, to reach out, to spread my message, because that doesn't change.
Right.
I had this thing thought through long before, and I'm using the channels that I have available to help with that. And so I really hope people take that approach and say, what can I do with this time? Maybe you want to learn to play an instrument. Well, great. You've got all day, every day right now. Dig in.
Yeah.
And maybe that becomes part of your life moving forward. Like, embrace that stuff. So again, stay positive, look for opportunities, read some books, read some self-help books, take an online class, do what you can with the time that you have right now. Don't waste this opportunity.
I love it. Joe, thank you so much for coming on the Coronavirus Diaries, and I look forward to making this a regular thing. Um, yeah, until next time, everybody out there, have fun under the circumstances, stay safe,
Stay safe.
and yeah, we'll see you again soon. Later.